Welcome into Logan Lives in the Comments. I'm Logan Paulsen, here with Fred Smoot, a man who's never going to be confused with a bodybuilder, but could intercept the football at a very high level. And then Santana Moss, the man with the best drip,
all the time.
the best drip in the game. All right, guys. So we got some questions. We got some tough questions today. You guys were talking about before the show. What's the first question we got?
All right, Logan Paulsen. How does the West Coast offense compare to the Air Coryell offense we ran under Scott and Norv Turner?
So obviously, everyone throws these terms around. Air Coryell, West Coast, what's going on here? So let's just start at the most basic level. And to me, it's the language, right? This right here is a West Coast offensive play, right? Notice all the words. Gun, Trey Wright, that's the formation. Buster puts these guys in a bunch. 82 is the protection. Tampa. Tampa is a description of the concept, which is here, which is basically like old arrow for us, Santana. And then halfback read. So all these words to describe. It allows me to tag and manipulate formations, but it's a lot of memorizations, long calls, right? Now, compare that to our guy. This is a classic play call in the Air Coryell offense. Now, there's no formation on here, so this would be, let's say this would be split right. So, because tight ends to the right, backs are split, and then 5-45 F post. And so what the old Air Coryell offense did is they just said everyone's got a number. The X has a number, the Y has a number, and the Z has a number. And then anybody else in the offense we have to tag. So that to me is one of the biggest differences between just kind of base stuff. Because this structure, I think, makes it really, really hard to diversify your play call, right? How do I tag, how do I individualize the Z when I get the number assigned to him, right? Unlike the other concept where I can just say, hey, Z post, Z whatever, right? So that's one thing, right? And I think that is that's kind of the most basic thing. The other thing is that these offenses are defined by horizontal space, right? So Air Coryell, they're a team that I say I want to push the football down the field, attack down the field. This is a classic Air Coryell play. All verts, right? Attack the field. We're creating vertical separation in the defense. And this works really, really well when you got a dog like Terry beating his guy like a drum, right? But this is a pretty low percentage throw. And so basically, when Don Coryell created this offense, he said, I'm a gambler. I'm going to roll the dice. We're going to take shots. We're going to hit more of these than we're going to miss. And we're going to make it happen. Another great example of this type of offense is the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. Right? They got Irvin. They got Emmitt Smith. They got the best offensive line in football. They got all those guys, right?
And we ran that same offense all 4 of my years at UM.
Right?
Bush Davis was a coach at the Cowboys in the 90s, so he brought that over.
And that works because you guys got dogs, right? We can get that football down the field. We can run. We can make plays.
One-on-ones.
We can beat one-on-ones. Exactly right, Fred. However, you know, when Bill Walsh created the West Coast offense, his quarterback didn't have a strong arm. They didn't have good receivers. So he said, well, shoot, we can't win going down the field like that. We got to spread the field out and create throwing windows. So this, to me, is a classic West Coast offense play. And so all it is, it's called Hank. You remember Hank, Tana?
Yeah, I remember.
You're going to sit this guy over the ball. This guy's going to run a hitch. This guy's going to run a hitch. And watch what they do here. In a West Coast offense, they really prioritize horizontal stretch. You see how these running backs are just sitting in the flats? That forces these defenders, see the defensive lineman here?
To open that window.
He's got to push through to that, right? And so this is not a hard throw, right? It's, look at this window we've created here just by concept. Big throwing window, easy underneath. I'm not getting the yield. I'm not getting touchdowns. I'm getting some really nice stuff underneath to make plays. So that is one of the major differences between the Air Coryell and the West Coast offense. And here, this is kind of the same play. So this is an old scissors concept. You know scissors, Tanner, right? You got post and corner. That's exactly right. So here we got Terry running the corner here. We got this guy running a vertical, and this guy's going to run a post, okay? Obviously, way downfield. Look, there's nobody under this concept, holding any type of coverage, right? It's just, we're trying to beat you vertically and stress you that way. This is a low percentage throw. It's a high yield throw, right? The result's big first down, but not a lot underneath holding coverage and creating that horizontal width, right? This is the same concept. We're gonna run a corner, we're gonna run a post, and we're gonna run a wheel here. Watch what this swing. Watch what this swing does to the linebacker. The linebacker has to go push out and get him. That's exactly right. He's got to push out and get him. And look at the space just doing that creates on this concept. Look at this hole here. And so to me, that is a West Coast principle. I need to stretch you horizontally to create throwing lanes, and vertically is less important. So just to sum it up, the language is different. The emphasis in the pass game is different. Air Coryell, we're taking bombs. We're taking shots.
Yep.
High level, right? And then this is West Coast. Now, in the NFL today, everyone copies concepts and does some of the same stuff, but those are kind of the defining principles. Fred, does that make sense?
I know, it makes total sense. The West Coast is about windows. They're
Yes,
about windows and
windows.
getting to the windows very quickly. They don't care if it's a 5-step, they don't care if it's a 7-step, but you will never see what you saw in that other play where they was cluttered up.
Yes.
You will never see that in the West Coast.
because we're
And
trying
then
to
one
create
of the
windows.
things too about the West Coast is more of a timing thing. You know
That's
what I mean?
absolutely
So
right.
you got
Yeah.
to be to your spot when that quarterback hit that back foot because he trying to hit you in that spot.
And like we saw in that Hank play, right? The right when the receiver turns around, the ball's in the air.
coming out.
Because again, the offense, the quarterback that initiated that offense didn't have the arm strength to be making these really high leverage throws. So
Yep.
hopefully that kind of clears that up your question. I know that's kind of a lot to talk about, but really, really interesting, detailed football stuff.
All right, my second question would be, what can we expect from EB and his rushing attack this year?
Gosh, so I love the run game, man.
Yeah.
It gets me fired up
Yeah.
because there's a lot. It's like playing chess and checkers, right? And so one of the things I went out and I said, what do they do? You know, like Kyle Shanahan, outside zone, you know, old school Air Coryell offense is like Norv Turner. It's gap scheme runs, power, counter. So Kansas City, they run it all, man. They run trap,
Yep.
they run
Yep.
dive,
Yep.
they run RPO, they run screens, they run outside zone, inside zone, mid zone. Literally any run you can think of, they've run it. Reverses, whatever you think. So my thought was like, how do they get to their runs for the game, right? What are they doing? And EB said something in his presser that really spoke to me. He said, we are going to find a way to put our guys in the best position to be successful and allow them to make plays. And so I thought this was a really good iteration of that. So this is the Chargers, right?
Yep.
They like to run these wide nines with Khalil Mack and Bosa. That's not Bosa, but they like to run these wide nines, crash everything down, force the ball back to the interior, and limit running lanes, right? So what they did in this game, which I loved, they said, well, what's a good play to keep the width, to keep this defender out here? And an easy one is counter, man.
Counter. I would say counter all
Counter's a
day.
great play.
Yep.
So here we go. We're going to release these guys through, and we're going to, this is GT. So GT, they're going to pull the backside guard tackle. You remember this, man, from
Yep.
Riggins, you
Yep,
know,
yep.
Joe Gibbs, all that stuff. They're going to pull around here, and look at them able to keep this width on this player here. Kick, wrap, nice job, and then the back finds a little crease in here, and we're able to take advantage of the defensive principles, right?
Yep.
So what I would say is that EB is going to say, we have all these runs at our disposal, but what I'm excited about is he's going to pick the runs that allow them to win. Here we go, same thing. It looks very similar. Now this is counter, Fred. Sorry, I got ahead of myself, right? Counter, you're going to kick, hold this guy here. You're going to wrap Kelsey up inside. You're going to create a huge crease inside here for the running back.
Yep.
And it's all based on how they align, because if they're going to play this wide nine, there's consequences for that.
Yep,
And so
it is.
schematically, we can take advantage of that. Look at this. Nice in there. Boom. Right up the gut. Love it, right? All because of how the defense is aligned. So he said, I'm going to pick runs that put us in good position. So he said outside zone, right? It's hard for tight ends to block Khalil Mack. He's one of the toughest guys in the NFL to block. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. So we don't want our tight ends to do that. We're going to run outside zone. We're just going to release these guys. The release is going to force Khalil Mack to step up the field. Our tackle can kick him out, and our back can stretch the edge with good speed and aggressiveness. And look at this run, right? Kick him out, up the gut. Excellent job there, right? So these are productive runs, and he's put these guys in the best position to be successful because he says, what is the defense doing, and how do we defeat it with our encyclopedic knowledge of runs? So in terms of how they're going to be, I think it's going to be very game plan oriented, and I think it's going to put these guys in an excellent spot to be successful.
All right.
What do you think, Fred? Does that make sense?
No, it did make sense.
I saw your eyes glaze over for a second.
I was just really blown away by how EB and Coach Andy Reid understood how to attack.
Yes.
And that counter, the one thing that counter does do, that 1 second that their back is sitting there, it gives the line and the tight ends a chance to get second level.
Yeah,
so I was just blown away by it.
Yep. All right, what's the next one? We got any more?
All right, the next one is.
Oh, this is my question for you,
Yeah, I
right?
was going to say, this is your question. I was going to ask you.
So we had something on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I love is when you guys tell stories about the best players you played against.
Yeah.
And Tana mentioned Terrence Newman, which was super surprising, and I was like, man, I wonder if there's any other gems. And the fans asked also, best players you guys played against. And so I want to know, best players you guys played against.
So, you know, I gave my notion of why Terrence Newman was special, because I saw him twice a year, and I wanted to give him his flowers because he was one of those guys that, you know, as a wide receiver, you see many of them. But if I had to pick a guy who I didn't see a lot of, and who was also probably, you know, everyone's nightmare when it came to my position, it would be the real Revis. I think Revis, hands down. I remember coming into the game, I played against Revis' rookie season in 07. I was going back to New York for the first time to play New York. Good friend of mine, Bo, I talk about him all the time. He's one of those guys. He's an encyclopedia when it comes to just knowing football players and knowing football. He reminds me of Fred a lot when it comes to that. And he's like, hey, boy, Revis is pretty good. Guy from Pittsburgh. He's a corner. It came in and went out the other ear. I never cared about my opponents. I told you that before. I never really studied them. I just studied the defense as a whole and cared less who the guy was in front of me, because you always change the position, change the size. I left that game like, man, who was that? Like,
and what made him so good?
It was just, one, knowing that he was a rookie. Two, I worked. I go in games sometime and, man, you can leave a game and be like, well, I didn't get the fair share because the offense didn't allow me to. They didn't give me the chance. I was getting my number called, and every time I was like, damn, I gotta get open. Like, I've been trying my hardest to get open from him. And I left that game with some nice catches. Could have won the game if Jay Kimmel went over, he threw the ball in the stands, I believe, to win the game. But nah, I left with a lot of praise talking about this dude, and I can't say I knew then he was gonna be a Hall of Fame caliber, but I watched him.
Fred, you watch him?
Best technician of a defensive back I've ever seen. Because usually you're a technician because you're not fast. Well, he was fast and a technician. Most wide receivers try to get us to open our hips. I never see him open his hips. I would see him play 20-yard comebacks, his hips still not open. Like, that's unbelievable.
Is that film study?
No, that's film study, that's poise, and that's understanding your competition, who you got and how can I stop him. I'm sure he checked Tanner different than he checked Randy. I'm sure he checked T.O. different than, like, so the thing about him, he had a plan for each and every one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Fred, who's your guy?
My guy, Peyton Manning.
Really?
Oh, it's Peyton Manning. And it's Peyton Manning for the fact that he was one of the few quarterbacks that literally called his entire game. Meaning he didn't need no offensive coordinator. Meaning he would come to the line of scrimmage and he would try to wait us out. And I'm trying to hold my coverage. That's why you see the DB, we be moving back and forth. I'm trying to not tell you what I'm in. He's just going to sit there. He's going to hold you off. He's going to hold you off. You're going to have to undress yourself.
At some point.
And you had to play their team so honest. They got EJ in the backfield. Your linebacker had to test them. Marvin Harrison on the left. You got Reggie Wayne on the right. They had a tight end in Dallas Clark. That's the honest you had to play anything. You had Stuckman inside. So you had to play honest. You got him like you had to play straight up with this team, and he would find a way. If his guy couldn't physically beat you, he would go beat you with the pencil. And so that's what made Peyton so dangerous. And knocking the ball down or stopping him one drive just wasn't good enough. They could put point after point after point. So he was a dangerous weapon, because you don't know how he's going to try to play you as a corner.
And we get caught up into the GOAT talks about what Tom has done. Unbelievable what he's done. I mean, especially with both teams, you know, coming from New England and then doing it again in Tampa. But man, if you had to just compare the two guys, you know what I mean? Like, I was more enamored by Peyton more so than Brady.
Players are more enamored.
You know what I mean? Like, Peyton showed me stuff that I just was like, man, you can do that? Like, he was just, like he said, wait him out and be able to switch things, you know. He called that Omaha stuff like at the perfect time. He knew he was playing games with you more than so that the defense playing games with him. So,
he would dictate your defense to the point where he was like, all right, if he know you got to stop route, I see him pad on his thigh, but he done changed that from the last drive, and now they running the skinny on me. Like, so it's just them Jedi mind tricks that he would play on you that you had to be ready for.
That's cool, man. I kind of thought you might say like Randy Moss or something, but I like this one a lot better.
I done picked off every Manning besides Archie.
You picked him off though?
Him, Eli, they mama, everybody.
And so for me it'd be like DeMarcus Ware, Alden Smith, one of those guys, those crazy long edge pass rushers. But I like your guys a lot, man. Those are really good ones. And these are the types of questions that we get here on that you guys leave us. And so we're really excited to have them. Please continue to leave comments, man. We love answering your questions. And make sure you turn in next week.
Logan
Thanks so
in the
much.
comments.